on Simple Kitchen Explanations, we're going to be talking about chocolate percentages and defining what chocolate percentage actually means when it comes to baking and cooking in the kitchen. Now, I know that seems like a silly thing because you see percentages on chocolates all the time when you're buying them at the grocery store. But did you know that percentage is actually very important to those of us who are trying to make treats with chocolate in them, from scratch, mind you? Well, first, let's talk about the different types of chocolate. There are 11 different types, but the thing is, there is some variations of those, but we're just going to name the 11 common ones without breaking down each one. So these are the 11 in no particular order. And we'll get into the order of them later when we discuss what that percentage actually means. So our 11 is ruby chocolate, white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, bittersweet, semi-sweet, nibs, cocoa powder, extra bittersweet, and couverture. And I think I didn't say unsweetened. Not 100%, but those are our 11. So let's break them down into the smallest amount of cocoa to the most amount of cocoa. Now, I want to start with nibs, and these are cocoa nibs. This is the rawest cocoa you can get. It's literally ground up cacao beans. And surprisingly, cacao beans ground up like that are actually really good and healthy for you in anything from desserts to your oatmeal, which is surprising if you think about it, because oatmeal is seen as a healthy food. Now, moving on to the couverture chocolate, this is probably what you've seen in the store before. This is, they call it almond bark. You can get it in chocolate or white chocolate. You can also get it in these pods, little round pops sometime. And couverture is your candy coating chocolate. So that's what you would melt, put in your molds, maybe push it up the sides, drain out the extra, and that's your outside of your chocolate. Now, white chocolate and ruby chocolate are very similar. They both have absolutely no chocolate liqueur in them. And this is important for later. So ruby and white chocolate, they have cocoa butter in them. They do not actually have any chocolate in them. So cocoa butter is a byproduct of processing other chocolates. That is why white chocolate and ruby chocolate are very pale in color. White and ruby is pink. Ruby chocolate also has the highest amount of sugar in it, with a whopping 49% sugar and a low percentage of cocoa butter at 18%. You would think this would make it easier to work with, but it can actually be moderate to difficult to temper and work with. White chocolate doesn't have as much sugar, but it has more cocoa butter in it, up to 41%. Now, let's actually get into our real chocolates. So starting off, we have milk chocolate. And milk chocolate has the most milk solids in it. That is why it's called milk chocolate. It has a low percentage of chocolate, which is about 10%. And this is actually a chocolate liqueur. And I'm not saying it's alcohol based. I'm saying that's your chocolate mashed up and processed into a liquid, and that's what goes into the chocolate. Now, most chocolates are also accompanied by elation, vanilla, sugar, milk solids. So that is your chocolate in a nutshell. So milk chocolate is also one of the most popular flavors because it's sweet and makes for a good snack. Now, let's move on to dark chocolate. Dark chocolate has between 38 and 42% chocolate liqueur. Dark milk chocolate also has a low amount of milk solids, like we're talking minuscule amounts. So you still get a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of that melty flavor in your mouth, but it does not have that sweet enough flavor that you get from milk chocolate. And also you start to get that bittering of chocolate. So bittersweet and semi-sweet chocolate, people like to use these interchangeably. Don't do that, especially when you're in the kitchen, because they actually both have their own unique sets of chocolate liqueur. So semi-sweet is actually the drop-off point where we no longer see the milk solids inside our chocolate. This is where it starts to become that bitter. But semi-sweet chocolates are also where we get our chocolate chips. A lot of people like using semi-sweet inside the chocolate chips to kind of navigate some of that sweetness inside their cookies. Now, semi-sweet also has a 50 to 62% of chocolate liqueur inside of the chocolate. Bittersweet chocolate has 63 to 72% chocolate liqueur in it. And bittersweet is like bitter. That's when you start to get the bitter, and you start getting younger people who are not into the bittersweet chocolate, and you start to see the people who do the wine, cheese, charcuterie boards with this chocolate on the board to kind of balance out the rest of the meals. Now you get to extra bittersweet chocolate, and you get 73 to 85% chocolate liqueur. Now this is a more finicky chocolate to work with because you start to get more of that bitter. But this chocolate also works great if you're trying to make brownies or desserts or chocolate mousse. This is the chocolate that you want to use. A lot of times you'll see it come like this, and sometimes you'll see it come in skinny bar forms. It just kind of depends on where you go, if you're going to an actual chocolate shop or if you're just buying the bars in store. And none of those are wrong. You can even order like your cocoa powder online. Like, it's okay. It doesn't matter where you get it from as long as it's actually that type of chocolate. Now, baking an unsweetened chocolate. Baking an unsweetened chocolate is the chocolate that when you were a kid and you were rummaging through, you wanted something sweet. You have a sweet tooth. You're looking through the pantry, you're looking through the cupboards, and what do you find? This orange box. Usually it's orange, sometimes it's red, it can be purple or green. I've seen them in all sorts of colors. And you beg your mom or your grandma, hey, can I have this? Hey, can I have some? Hey, can I have some? And they relentlessly hand you a piece, and you instantly regret it. Baking an unsweetened chocolate has 0 sugar in it and has up to 86 to 99% chocolate liqueur. You're looking at an almost raw chocolate when it comes to baking. And the reason for this is you're going to add sugar when you make your desserts and your baked goods from this chocolate. The other chocolate we have is cocoa powder. Now, cocoa powder you can get in Dutch processed or natural. Dutch processed means the alkaline or the acidity level has been removed. And this chocolate you can get in any type. So you can get it in, so this one's black cocoa, Dutch processed, and it's unsweetened. So this is like for your, I make Oreo cookies with this stuff. But like your cocoa powder you can use for, you might have seen it in the Hershey tins for hot chocolate. It's literally the cocoa ground up, dried, and turned into a powder to make it easier if you're making cookies or baked goods or pies, or even types of breads work really well with cocoa powder. So what does that percentage mean? Well, the percentage basically tells us how much cocoa or cacao bean is inside your chocolate. And this is important information in the kitchen because you need to know what percentage of chocolate is if you plan on tempering, because that percentage lets you know your melting point, your cooling temperature, and how long you need to leave it to actually melt it through. But that's for another Simple Kitchen Explanations. I hope you enjoyed this one, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment what you want to know about the kitchen.